Hello and welcome to the July edition of Our Faith, Our Diocese. I'm Dan Gallagher. Since the founding of our diocese 150 years ago, the Church of Scranton has witnessed many changes over the years. However, one thing has remained constant: the clergy's commitment to serving God and His people. In our opening segment, we'll see how our priests and permanent deacons are carrying on Christ's mission of love and service for thousands of faithful across our diocese.
The priesthood is a calling. It is not a job. It's not a way to make a living. It is something that goes to the very essence of each and every man who is called to it.
When I was born in 1965, I looked it up, there was over 430 some priests that were in the diocese. Compared to today in 2017, we have less than 200.
Clearly today, being a priest is countercultural. It calls individuals to a very, very different way of life and to a set of values. We believe as Catholic Christians that God comes to us in many ways. Recognizing that presence, though, is an incredible gift. We're blessed right now to have 15 men in formation for priestly ministry.
Welcome to St. Peter's Cathedral this wonderful morning in the Diocese of Scranton as we ordain our brother Seth, a priest for service to this local church. With much gratitude in our hearts this day for the gift of the abiding presence of God in our lives and in our hearts, with gratitude to Seth and his willingness to say yes to the Lord's invitation to follow and to serve.
The foundation of the diocese was made possible in the early years because of pioneer priests and bishops who traveled through vast and dense territory. Mass was periodically celebrated and the sacraments delivered to the homes of the faithful. As the diocese grew, they established parishes and became trusted figures of authority in Catholic communities.
The priests were often the most literate person in the society, so they could write the letters home. If you got in trouble with the law, the priest could act kind of as a lawyer in your defense. They were the authority in more than just spiritual matters.
That was a great time. The church was just so vibrant and out there and leading all these things. Today, it seems that the church problems are much more difficult to deal with.
So many changes. I think that's one of the characteristics of our time, so many rapid changes that could kind of disorient people. The church is always a light that shines sometimes in the darkness. There's so many good things that are being done, sacrifices that are being made, heroic efforts that sometimes are just part and parcel of the life of ministry. That's why the role of the saints is so important in the life of the church, because when you know their story, they begin to be the source of inspiration, and you realize what we're capable of.
One of the things that we oftentimes talk about when we're doing pastoral planning for our parishes is how we maximize the unique gifts and opportunities that our clergy have.
Parishes are increasingly turning to the lay faithful for support. The diaconate has also increased in prevalence in recent decades.
Welcome as we join together to celebrate the great gift and blessing of the Sacrament of Holy Orders as we ordain our brother Ryan Glenn for service to the Church of Scranton as a deacon.
Deacons have been a part of the church since the very beginning. In the early church, the deacons were given a ministry of service. That still really is an aspect of their ministry that lies at the heart of who and what they are.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
We're business people, government workers, lawyers, so we got our feet, so to speak, in both worlds. And part of our ministry is to bring Christ into the world, into our businesses, into our work lives, and also to bring those concerns of the work life and the business back into the church in an own unique way. Being a husband, a father, a grandfather, gives you a perspective on life that maybe someone who's not a husband, a father, and a grandfather would have. So I understand the problems and the issues and the joys that come with all of that. Katie was a beautiful, wonderful, vibrant girl. But, like so many people, she became ill. She had bipolar disorder, and she died by suicide. So often people with a mental illness are homeless, unemployed, not well taken care of, and there's a tremendous ministry there. And I think I know Christ wants to be with them. They're wounded, and Christ wants to heal their wounds, heal our wounds.
A parish priest or the deacons in our diocese are not looking to be put up on a pedestal in any way, but I see a patience and a charity and a love for God and a love for the people. I guess it's those sacramental moments where I find it most rewarding and fulfilling to know that God has allowed the gift of the priesthood to be so helpful to others.
We come to you now from Misericordia University in Dallas, where 40 young men from around the diocese have gathered to take part in the annual Quo Vadis Days summer camp for high school students. In our next segment, we'll see how Quo Vadis affords these young men the opportunity to enter into a deeper relationship with Christ. It also helps them better discern God's call in their lives. If Quo Vadis accomplishes nothing else, what are you hoping they will take from this experience?
To center their relationship with Christ, center their life on their relationship with Jesus Christ, and to realize that for a lot of us, you hear about college kids that change majors 5 times, or that they date 10 or 15 girls till they find the right wife, okay? Or the priests that become priests later in life after a couple different careers. It's a journey in our life, and we're called to be holy, and the vocation is living out that call. But really, none of it's going to work unless we get our relationship with Christ right. And so what we do at Quo Vadis through all the prayer we spend is just getting our young men just to relax, to pray to God, to know Jesus Christ, and to trust in Him. And then that's the center of what's going to make their life successful.
God was calling me to be a priest, and I knew that in college, I knew that a little bit in high school, but I never really wanted to admit it, because I had my plan for my life, and it was to do good in college, it was to go get an MBA, it was to be married, it was to have a large family, it was to make a lot of money. And all those things were really important to me, and my faith was important to me too, but I really never connected it all between my faith and my vocation. And people always said to me, you can do whatever you want to do, but they never said to me, you can do whatever God wants you to do, and that's when you're going to be the happiest.
For someone who's never been part of the Quo Vadis experience, they might think that it's an opportunity to recruit candidates for the seminary, but is that necessarily the case?
Dan, I don't think that's really the point of Quo Vadis. The point of Quo Vadis is, where are you going? Where is God calling you in your life to be? So for our young men, we know that the majority of them are going to get called to the vocation of marriage. But regardless of whether they're going to be called to be married or called to priestly ministry, they have to have a really deep relationship with God that helps sustain them in their life, where they commit to Him every single day, not just their vocation, but for the rest of their life. So one of the things we do here is we give a lot of talks on priesthood, obviously, because the church needs priests, and because we know that 10% of our youth, surveys say, are being called to be priests and experience that call but don't quite know how to respond. So we want to really help that 10% because there's such a need. But at the same time, we want to help the other 90%. We brought in Tim Naughton, who gave a wonderful talk on what it's like to be married and the joys and the struggles, and I think our young men really related to that. And we brought Abby in, a college girl from East Stroudsburg University, and she spoke about what it's like to be dating now as a young woman, and I think our young men had a lot of questions of her too. So we're really looking at helping our young men just be disciples of Jesus Christ, regardless of what their vocation is being called to be.
It's a wonderful environment. It's a bunch of people that really embrace their faith and just love talking about it and just having a lot of fun. It's not all just people lecturing us and just telling us to become priests or to become whatever vocation we want to. We're out there playing around, and we're just talking about it. We're playing ultimate frisbee yesterday, and we're talking about I'm playing ultimate frisbee with a priest. With a bunch of priests. It's a wonderful experience to get to know people, to get to broaden your faith and to understand what our faith really truly means to us.
Do you think Quo Vadis is making a difference as far as helping you discern God's call?
I think it's helping a lot, because I know before Quo Vadis, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't see what I was gonna do in 10 years, but now I'm thinking more and more like college and marriage and stuff, and hopefully maybe becoming a priest. That can be an option.
Why is that such a powerful moment when you realize you're not alone, that there are so many other young men out there who are excited about their Catholic faith?
I think it's important to be with everyone here. The more the merrier. You have a lot of people to support you and to listen to you. Like all of our college people who come here, they do a great job leading our groups, having the small discussions, and they really help out.
Tyler, I know this is your first year, but what do you think of Quo Vadis so far?
I'm absolutely loving it. Just the environment and the ability to be with other young men our age that have the same concerns, challenges, and stresses of being a young Catholic man in the church, and everyone overcoming those problems together is just absolutely awesome.
Do you think Quo Vadis does make a difference as far as helping you discern where God may be calling you in the years ahead?
Absolutely. One of the big things here is that all the priests and all the young adult leaders really make you aware of all your options, and that they don't say that you need to be a priest or you need to be married. They lay out all the options on the table and show you the benefits of all of them and let you choose for yourself.
When you walk into an environment and you look around the room and you realize, hey, I'm not alone, there are a lot of other young men who share my love for the Catholic faith, but also share your anxiety about the future and what God holds in store for me. Why do you think that helps you so much to realize that you are one of so many that have the same feelings?
I think just the ability to discuss the same problems with others, that everyone goes through similar challenges and that everyone can share their experiences and what has worked for them and what has not, and the ability to develop and overcome those challenges together.
Have you given some thought to what you would like to do personally in the years ahead?
Right now in my life, I'm not really sure what I want to do, but currently I'm just trying to not shut any doors in my life and leave everything up to God.
Matthew, again, as someone who came here 3 years as a participant and now you're coming back to facilitate as a volunteer, what is the draw about Quo Vadis? Why do you look forward to being part of this?
I think it's a really great experience because it brings all of our young men together from the diocese to explore this idea of your call to vocation, whether it be priest, whether it be marriage. And I think it's really good to take a break from, the busyness of the world, get together with other Catholic men who are taking the faith as seriously as I am and as we are, and pray together and discern together.
Why do you think that's such a special part of Quo Vadis, the fact that we're looking at all vocations?
Well, I think that a lot of people are, they have the notion that the priests are going to try to recruit you, to take you in. And I think it's good that they're exploring all options so that everyone feels welcome, so that you're not turning people away, but you're encouraging them to stay open, to discern, and also treating marriage as a vocation, as it is.
Another milestone in the year-long celebration of the Diocese's 150th anniversary will take place on September 22nd, when Bishop Bambera leads a pilgrimage to the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington, D.C. Today, we have the opportunity to talk with one of our own priests, Monsignor Walter Rossi, who for the last several years has been serving as the shrine's rector. In our upcoming conversation, we'll see how Monsignor Rossi is hoping that faithful will walk away from this pilgrimage inspired by the Blessed Mother's great witness of love and faith. Monsignor, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Dan, for having me.
Monsignor, every year close to 1 million visitors come to this holy site. What is it about the Basilica that resonates with so many faithful not just from the United States, but from around the world?
Well, like the great Marian shrines of Europe, the National Shrine in Washington is our preeminent Marian shrine. This shrine was begun by the bishops of the United States after the bishops placed our country under the patronage of Mary Immaculate following the Council of Baltimore. And after that time, they believed that there should be a Marian shrine, or in Washington, a monument. So this is our national tribute to Our Lady. And so people come to us from all over the world because it is in fact a center of Marian devotion for our country. But also too, the National Shrine has over 80 chapels under different Marian titles. And so people like to come to the shrine to go to their chapel, to their Madonna, to seek her intercession. And so that gives them a more tangible association with the shrine, because that's where they can find Our Lady, their Lady.
Now, this will mark the 17th pilgrimage from this particular diocese to the National Shrine. When you think about the fact that this is such a special year for us here in the Scranton Diocese as we celebrate the 150th anniversary of our founding, why is this pilgrimage such a beautiful way to observe this anniversary?
Well, you know, Dan, in the tradition of pilgrimages, people went on pilgrimage for all kinds of reasons. People go on pilgrimages in petition for a request from the Lord. Some went asking favors. Some went as a penance. And then others go on pilgrimage in thanksgiving for favors received. And so since this is the anniversary of the diocese, I can think of no better way to celebrate and to return thanks to God than to make a pilgrimage in thanksgiving for the blessings which God has bestowed upon the Diocese of Scranton, and also asking for future blessings.
Monsignor, there's a very good chance that a number of these pilgrims that will be going down in September, chances are they've been there before. But for the benefit of someone who's going this September who has never been to the Basilica, what can they experience? What can they expect? What do you think this will be for them?
Well, I'm hoping for them it's going to be a breathtaking experience, because that is a common experience when people walk through our doors. The Basilica is one of the largest churches in the world. It is the largest Catholic church in North America. And so just the grandeur of the building is breathtaking and awe-inspiring. And that's only on the outside. And then once you get inside, for example, in the upper church, there are numerous chapels, but the first thing you're confronted with, if you will, is the mosaic of the Christ in Majesty, which fills the north apse of the upper church, that being one of the largest images of Jesus in mosaic in the world. And so I'm hoping that as people walk through the shrine and visit our more than 80 chapels, they will see not only the beauty of the place, but above all, they will see the devotion of the peoples that live in the United States, that visit the shrine, and that helped build the shrine.
As you celebrate, I believe, your 31st anniversary this year as a priest here in the Diocese of Scranton, the majority of those years have been spent at the Basilica. For you personally, why has it been such a great joy and a great privilege?
Very simply, because we are a shrine, we are not a parish church, and we belong to everyone. We receive visitors from all over the world. And when our visitors come to the shrine, you see so many different expressions of faith. And the faith of our visitors is what inspires me, and has actually been the best experience of being at the National Shrine, because you see people from every walk of life, every expression of faith, and their faith inspires my faith. And their faith also reminds me that in the midst of any difficulties in the world, any difficulties in the church, faith is still alive and well, because everyone who comes to the shrine wants to be there. And we have thousands of visitors every week, every Sunday, and they inspire me.
I know that those pilgrims that are planning to attend this pilgrimage on September 22nd from our diocese are extremely excited. What are you hoping they will take away from this experience when they come back to the Scranton Diocese?
Most importantly, the goal of any pilgrimage is to return home differently than when you arrived. And so my hope is that after they spend their day on pilgrimage, and it's not just being at the shrine, it's the entire day. It's leaving Scranton, going to Washington, going through the day, going through the programs, coming home. That's all part of the pilgrimage. That when they come home, they will have it drawn closer to the Lord. And that through the example of Our Lady, they will seek always, like her, to do what God asks. You know, Pope Francis in his recent apostolic exhortation on the joy, Gaudete et Exsultate, he speaks of the fact that we all have to find our own path to holiness, and that pilgrimage is one of those ways of holiness. He tells us, too, that it's Our Lady who leads us by the hand and guides us. And so hopefully, as the diocese comes on pilgrimage, they come into the shrine, Mary's shrine, they grab Mary's hand and walk with her, not only that day, but every day thereafter.
On this particular day, close to 800 women from around the diocese and from points well beyond the diocese gathered here at the University of Scranton to take part in the first annual Catholic Women's Conference. Co-sponsored by the Diocese of Scranton and Altus for Women, this day-long conference has been an opportunity for these women to re-energize their faith and their relationship with God.
Good morning, ladies. It is such a pleasure and a privilege to be with you this morning. I can confirm for you what Mary Carol said, which is that there have been a committee of women who have been overwhelmingly committed with their time, their talent, for the whole last year, preparing and planning this event for you. And so we're kind of really excited. We thank you all for coming out for this event. Well, we have a couple of quick announcements, if that's okay. And this is the first announcement. Are you ready? It's a little irregular. It's actually my announcement. Here's the irregular announcement, and I'm probably going to say it halfway through the day again. The male brain, it speaks on the average 7,000 words a day. The female brain speaks on the average 23,000 words a day. The men are done by lunch, and we're just getting warmed up.
What a great, great gathering this is. And what a wonderful reminder your presence here says to the entire world, at least in our corner of it here in northeastern and north central Pennsylvania. You are the church. We are the church. Not me, not these gentlemen standing up here, priests and deacons. You are the church. And it is because of you that there is a vibrant, powerful presence of Jesus here in our world and in the lives of the people who are so important to us all. It is because of you that we witness to our faith and we sing a song to the world that doesn't always resonate with the world wants to hear, but that speaks of hope and promise and love and mercy and God.
All of us here, I believe, have faith, and God has called us here today to increase our faith and to give us a blessing on our faith and to awaken us to a deeper level of faith. The second question I'm going to ask you about faith, don't ring your bell. because this is a deeper definition of the word faith. So faith means believing in God. We believe in God. We profess the articles of the Creed. But really, one of the definitions the Catechism of the Catholic Church gives us about faith, it says, when man freely commits his entire self to God. Freely commits his entire self to God. I like to call this definition of faith radical self-surrender. So this is you don't have to ring your bell for this, but as I talk today and as I tell my own story, I want you to consider your journey of self-surrender to God and ask yourself the question, have I radically surrendered to God? Have I radically surrendered my life to God? Have I given him my life, my mind, my will, my emotions, my wishes, my dreams, my desires, my body, my children? Have I given him all that I have, all that I am, my dreams, the way I hoped things would go, my suffering, the way things may be going? To ask yourself and prayerfully reflect today of where you are in your journey of surrender to God.
I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. The talks were great. Confession was incredible. And the music was great. Just looking forward to seeing what the rest of the day is going to be like.
Does it really make a difference when you start interacting with other women who are just as excited about their faith? Does it inspire you and maybe kind of energize your own faith a little bit?
Yeah, I think just it's a community thing. We all have to, the church is a community. So being able to be around people with the same like faith and desire to develop the relationship with God, it does energize you.
Little girl, get up. Little girl, get up. Little girl, get up and live. Little girl, arise. Little girl, arise. And see that he's not finished yet. The King is calling your name. The King is seeking your face. The King is here in this place, and he is your Lord. He is yours. Little girl, awake from sleep, and step into the light, and let all your shame be washed away by the one who brings you back to life, 'cause the King is calling your name. The King is seeking your face. The King is here in this place, and he is your Lord. He is yours. The King is all that you need. The King won't stop till you're free. Oh, daughter, look up and see. Your Father is here. Your Father is here. We cry, Father. We cry, Father. We cry, Father. You are Father. We cry, Father. You are Father. We cry, Father. You are Father. Oh, we cry, Father.
Jesus Christ is alive. When you look at the resurrection stories, the women came back from the tomb. You know, they didn't say to the apostles, hey, guess what? He rose from the dead. They said, no, you thought he was dead. We just saw him on the road. He's alive. The disciples at Emmaus came back and said, he's alive. Jesus is not dead, he's alive. And then we say risen, obviously he rose, and since he rose, he's alive. He'll never die again. So a church that really centers on, holds on to that central truth that Jesus Christ is alive will be a living church. If you just think that Jesus is a memory, he's a book, he's a teaching, he's a dogma, he's a doctrine, he's a picture on the wall, he's a statue in the corner, that's not a living God. Jesus is alive, not dead. And third, if he is God and he's alive, the third thing is, well, where is he? Where is he? Is he up in heaven? And one of the things as a kid that used to, I guess I struggled with, I don't know why, I must have been a theologian at birth, because as a kid I said, well, remember the stories of resurrection, where they're all in the upper room, the doors were closed for fear of the Jews, and Jesus came and stood in their midst. And then he spoke with them, he talked to them, he ate with them, and then he withdrew. And the question is, where did he come from? Where did he go back to? Was he living on Mars and he came down from Mars? Was he living on the moon? What does that mean? Where was he that he came from, and where did he go to when he left? And the answer is, he's with us always. And it wasn't a question that he was in the room, he wasn't in the room, he left the room, he got back to the room. He was always there. The difference was, sometimes they saw him, and sometimes they didn't. And they got in their heads that whether they could see him or they couldn't see him, he was there. And that changed their whole perspective of the world church themselves. If you're here and you really believe Jesus is with us, be careful what you say. He's listening. Be careful how you act. He's watching. He's with us. And you know that the Bible, the Gospels begin and end with that one phrase. At the very beginning, before Jesus is even born, it tells us, his name will be called Emmanuel, which means God is with us. That's like the beginning of the gospel. He's laying the groundwork. What's the last thing he said before he ascended into heaven? Behold, I am with you to the end of the ages. I am with you. He's with us. Now, if I thought that I was ministering, acting, had to live by myself, alone, on my own power, my own strength, my own intelligence, my own energy, I'd give up right now. You look at the needs out there, the world that needs to be converted, the errors that need to be corrected, the dangers that lurk behind every corner, the uncertain future, and you had to face that by yourself, you just quit right now. But if you believe and know that Jesus Christ is with us, he is here, there's no fear. You let him live, let him be here. He's alive and he's present. And that's how they did the first ministries. Nobody ever said, oh boy, I got this power to heal, I'm going to go heal. No. They said, oh God, help me. And in Jesus' name, Jesus, you do it. No, I pray a lot for healing. I do a lot of healing services. I've been everywhere. And there's something that in the hearts of people, they want to be prayed over. They want to be blessed. Everyone, no matter where. And it's true, I was in China, where 99.99% of the people are not Christian, are not believers. We did a little healing service behind closed doors, a little hidden space that was not publicized, but a couple hundred people showed up. They were underground Catholics. And we started praying over people, just blessing them. We did a mass and preached and shared. And then we're praying over people. And they were coming in from everywhere. It was like we started with a couple hundred. We ended up with a couple thousand. The word was out. There was prayer, there was blessing, and people were in line. And they didn't have any kind of background knowledge. They just knew. And somehow this presence of Christ was drawing people, and they were getting blessed. And they were asking the people who lived there, how do you become a Christian? How do you become a follower of Jesus? What did they experience? He was alive, and he was there, and they needed him. It might have been communists. I didn't speak Chinese. I didn't give great sermons. They just knew in their spirit that Jesus was there. Jesus was alive. Jesus was with them. And that's pretty much what happens here.
What goes through your mind when you walk into a room like this and you see so many other women who are just as excited about being part of this Catholic Church?
I feel like I'm in a little piece of heaven, honestly. I feel like I'm experiencing that bit of heaven, because a lot of the women that I would come with live like at least 20 minutes away. I'm really rather isolated where I'm at, but I'm finding more and more people that, because I only came back to the United States 7 years ago, so I'm having to make friends all over again, and it's not easy.
When you do make new friends today at this event and you share stories and also common stories about your faith, does it inspire you and kind of rejuvenate your own faith to be with these women?
Oh, most definitely. Yes. I find a richness in their lives that you just can't find. It's becoming so rare in this world, and I just look forward to being here. I'm really excited to be here.
Looking back on this morning, you just heard Father Maculaire talk earlier. You heard Judy speak, and then you also had the opportunity to hear his own and their beautiful music. What have you thought of the program so far?
Every bit of it has been just amazing, exceeding my expectations, and even going to confession with Monsignor Esif was just like, I've been crying, I think, since I started coming. And Father Maclaire's talk was just like really timely, yeah.
So when you go home to drums today, what do you think you're going to take with you from this conference?
A new love for the Father God, yeah. And that Jesus really does reveal him, and a new love for my husband too.
Jesus understands.
I really like it. I think, they're doing a great job. For the first one here, it's great. They're doing a great job.
Why were you so much looking forward to being part of this event?
I think it's important as women of faith to come together and see other women of faith. Like, that in itself is uplifting, and trying to live out our faith in modern day society. It's like a team meeting.
When you walked into the room today and you looked around and you see close to 800 women, I mean, that's an incredible turnout for the first conference. What was going through your mind when you realized that you were one of so many?
It was amazing, and it made me feel very strong. Like, we're not alone in this, in our culture. We're not. There's so many of us here that love Jesus and love our faith. So it made me feel like I can go out and I want to bring other women next year.
Now, we all have the experience of celebrating with parishioners in our own faith communities, but why do you think every once in a while Catholic women need to take advantage of opportunities like this to experience a little bit of a larger church?
Well, I think that it brings out the universality of our faith, and also the struggles and joys of being a woman. It brings what we live on a microcosm to like a big scale of, there are all these people that know about womanhood in the faith, and I could ask any one of them. Maybe I'll make a friend today that I can lean on later because I have a struggle that she's familiar with. I think that's really important. It makes God feel even bigger.
And one last question, why is it such a joy for you to be able to share this day with your daughter, Patricia?
Well, first, because I hope, even if I'm starting this young and she might not remember it, that babies can go everywhere and they should be welcome everywhere. And also that I'm living my faith, even though it might not be so easy to bring a 6-month-old, that it's important because Jesus did so much more for us that was a lot harder than bringing a baby.
You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good father.
Once again, hundreds of Catholic teens from around the diocese have gathered here at Misericordia University to take part in the 12th annual Light the Fire Youth Rally. Be strong and courageous. The theme for this year's rally draws from the Holy Father's message at World Youth Day, in which he challenges young people to live out their Catholic faith proudly and courageously.
Hey, hey, Cooper Ray! What do you got to say? Hey! One more time with feeling. Hey, hey, Cooper Ray! What do you got to say? Hey! Give it up for Cooper Ray, everyone.
The concluding rite at Mass, you will hear this hopefully. Sometimes the deacon or the presider does not say these exact words, but something along the lines of, at the very, very end, the last words are, "Go and proclaim the gospel with your lives." And I think so many times we hear that when we go to Mass, we hear that, and we walk out the door and we fail to proclaim the gospel with our lives. We come and we get our Jesus fix, and it's all great. But then we go back out and we have not changed one bit. And the whole point of coming to Mass, the whole point of coming to a conference, the whole point of coming to a rally, the whole point of coming to a Bible study or going to whatever it is that you do to try to deepen your faith, hopefully, that it makes you different, that you are leaving a different person, that when you leave there, you will go and proclaim the gospel. That you will go and proclaim the gospel with your lives. And what does that look like? Well, St. Francis of Assisi said, look, proclaim the gospel, and if necessary, use words, right? We don't even have to use words. It's just how we treat other people. It's how we treat other people. Do we treat people the way that we know that they are a creation of God, that they are made for greatness, that they are strong, and that they are courageous because of what God has done for them, and that God loves them unconditionally no matter how we might feel about them? Do we treat those people? Do we treat people we interact with, whether they're our closest family or our biggest enemy? Do we treat them with the dignity that they deserve because they are a child of God? I don't care what they do to you. Do we love them the way that God loves them?
Why do you think it is that this particular youth rally resonates with so many young Catholics around the diocese?
I'd have to say that Light the Fire is not really an independent thing from the church, but it's just such a free atmosphere. It's such an energetic, unifying thing within the church. It's unlike anything else that kids come here and they have their own schedule. They have their own thing that they can do. I mean, you have, again, the unification within the early morning, and you have a high energy session, and you have good, amazing speakers, and you really choose what you take out of it. It's whatever you put in, you get out. So you have a number of different sessions that kids can go to, and again, they get to pick. They go, they get some good food, and they hear some great word and some great music, and they have a good time. And I'd say it's just that overall, just you get out what you put in.
Speaking of that, looking at your own experience, how do you think Light the Fire has personally touched you and impacted your own faith?
I think that it's a very large-scale idea that you come here, I come here, and you see just the beauty around you and the beauty of not only the young church, but the church as a whole. A lot of people like to say, no, this is the young church, this is the church of the future, but this is the church of the now. And it's not just the young church, it's the adults that are here, it's the speakers, it's everybody coming together, and it really sets you up to say, I can go out, I can change the world with what I'm learning here, and there's so many other people behind you doing the same thing.
Now, when you look at the experience of Light the Fire, whether we're talking reconciliation, adoration, or the closing Mass with Bishop Bambera, it's a little bit different from celebrating these sacraments in your own parish. Why is there such power in a moment when you walk into that auditorium, whether it's for Mass or adoration, and you look around and you see hundreds of young Catholics who are just as excited about their Catholic faith as you are? Why is that such a powerful moment?
I think it kind of beckons within the name, Light the Fire. And I've always had this kind of a saying that it's not lighting the fire necessarily, but there's all these kids, all these young adults that are coming in, and they have these embers burning within them. And it's just, when everybody comes together, it's this wind, it's that Holy Spirit just lighting it up. And it's just this whole room full of people. And I kind of said something similar just before, but it's just a room full of people that are embodying, showing what the whole world, what the whole young church is all about. And it's just a beautiful thing.
If you had the opportunity to get up in front of a group of young people who have never experienced Light the Fire, and for whatever reason, maybe they're a little reluctant to try that retreat experience, what do you think you would say to them to encourage them to experience Light the Fire?
I'd say with all things, just have a little bit of faith. You know, if you need to, grab a friend by the hand and take them with you. I don't care if you drag a van full of friends with you if it makes it easier. Just bring your crew, have some fun, have some faith, come in with an open heart, open hands, and just let it come in, let it take you over.
Every hour I need you, my one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Sin runs deep, your grace is more. This is found, is where you are, and where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me.
Sing it out, Lord, I need you.
Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you.
What is the secret behind Light the Fire? Why do so many young Catholics get excited about this event?
Honestly, I think the big reason is just because it's not very structured like the rest of some Bible camp type things may be. It's kind of just, you don't really have a set group of kids that you're with or assigned to. You kind of just go with your friends to whatever workshops you want to go to, and it's purely for your interest, what you're interested in exploring when you're here. And I think that's why a lot of kids are really interested in coming.
Now, you personally, you started off last year as a participant. This year, you're coming back as a facilitator. As you reflect on your own personal experience with this rally, how do you think it's affected your own journey of faith?
Well, actually, like I just said, how there's not very much structure. It's kind of just whatever you're interested in doing, you can do. I find a lot of energy through the kids that are here from having the ability to do that, kind of doing whatever you feel is next on your own schedule for the day, which is fantastic. And I just think there's a really good amount of energy here.
When you think about the challenges and problems that young people face today, whether they're in college and high school, there are a lot of challenges in our secular world. Why do you think today more than ever young Catholics need to take advantage of efforts like Light the Fire in order to connect more deeply with their faith and with the church?
One of the reasons I come to Light the Fire in programs like this is because I actually find a little bit of like a self-care type aspect from being here, kind of taking the day to yourself to reconnect with God and yourself in a bunch of different ways. So I think it's really good for people to have a kind of outlet to come to just let everything else go at the door.
And is that really a thrill for you now, being a facilitator, being in that position where you're actually able to guide other young Catholics who are experiencing this for the first time?
Absolutely, because when I was a participator for the first time, I was a little nervous coming here, not knowing very many people and wondering kind of what the day was going to be like. And I think it's really important that we were able to get that alone time to ourselves to kind of just let everything go.
Kaylee, touching upon that, you mentioned the fact the first time you were a little bit nervous. I'm sure there are a lot of young people around our diocese that may be reluctant to take part in Light the Fire because they don't know what to expect. What do you think you would say to such people in order to encourage them to give this a try?
If anybody's coming in like me and they are a little nervous for their first time, I would say just come in by yourself, and there will be other people that are here by themselves as well, having the same kind of issues as you, and you will find somebody to pair up with. It's so easy.
Coming up later today, the culmination of this day will be that closing Mass with Bishop Bambera. I have heard so many young people tell me about that Mass that it's so different than anything else they've experienced. Why is that closing Mass such a special part of Light the Fire?
I think it's the culmination of everybody's energy throughout the day. It gives us a chance to unwind together all as a group. and we're just all kind of on the same track, which makes it an absolutely awesome experience at Mass. Everybody's on the same page, and we're just there like as a group together as one.
I want to tell you something that perhaps I shared with you before. And it happened to me at my first Light the Fire 8 years ago. Somebody who was just like all of you, I suspect she's probably not here because she, I think, was probably in college at the time. But a young woman came up to me at the end of the Mass, just like a lot of you will come up to me tonight. And she said, "Bishop Bambera, thank you for being with us. It meant a lot to have you here, but I have to tell you something." And I said, "Well, what's that?" And she said, "I disagreed with something that you said in your homily." I thought, oh, God, I don't even know what I said, let alone something that would cause you to be upset or you disagree with. And I said, well, what's that? And she said, "You said that young people were the future of the church." I thought, well, yeah, I did, and you are. And she said, "Well, we are. But when you say that we're the future of the church, that implies something." I said, "Well, what's that?" She said, "It implies that maybe we're not a part of the church now. Yes, we're the future, but we are also the now. We are also the now." You agree with that? Absolutely. And you know something? It's obvious that I forget a lot of things. I could forget what I had for supper tonight, but I never forgot those words that were shared with me 8 years ago. And I never will, because that was a very, very important lesson that I learned. Yes, you're the future, but we are all the church now. And we all have been given a great gift, the gift of faith. And the key is that we need to care for that gift. We need to give it a voice and a heart and a life. Some time ago, Pope Francis told a large gathering of young people like yourselves a very, very important lesson that ties in with the gospel that was picked for this evening's Mass. And I have to tell you, I love this quote. It's probably one of the best. And Pope Francis gives us a lot of things to talk about, but I bet you never heard this one. Pope Francis told a large gathering of young people like yourselves to seek the grace of being annoying. Can you imagine that? You ever been annoying? My sister tells me I'm annoying all the time. She said I was annoying as a little kid, and I'm just as annoying at 62 years of age. But anyway, he said, pray for the grace of being annoying. Now, I want you to listen to why he said that. These are his words, not mine, but I think they're great, and I'd love to put my name to these as well. He says, Christians often take a back seat, don't they? He said, there are those who are well-mannered, who do everything well, but are unable to bring people to the church through proclamation and apostolic zeal. He said, today we need to ask the Holy Spirit to give us all this apostolic fervor and to give us the grace to be annoying when things are too quiet in the church. You agree with that? You willing to be annoying? You think you can be annoying? Who thinks they can be annoying here? They're not putting their hands up. I think they're annoying all the time, your pastors here. Not really. You think I'm, and you know what? And they think I'm annoying too. That's okay, because Pope Francis reminds us that we need to pray for the grace to be annoying, for the grace to go to the outskirts of life. He says the church has so much need of this, not only in distant lands, but in our cities too, like Scranton and Towanda and Wyalusing and Williamsport and Mountaintop. And Mountaintop here? Wow. And Stroudsburg and Tannersville and Carbondale and Archibald and Swoyersville. Anybody here from Swoyersville? Do you know where Swoyersville is? It's near Kingston. Anybody here from Kingston? Anybody here from Nanticoke? I knew that. All right. We need to take that great message, the Pope says, to our cities, and we need to proclaim wherever we are Jesus Christ. So let me finish the Holy Father's quote. So let us ask the Holy Spirit for the grace of apostolic zeal. And if we annoy people, Pope says, then blessed be the Lord. Onwards, as the Lord says to St. Paul, take courage and be annoying. So my brothers and sisters, you ready to be annoying? Yeah. Are you ready to be annoying? Yeah. All right. Then take courage and be the church of the Diocese of Scranton, and know beyond a shadow of a doubt that as you proclaim Jesus, as you annoy people's lives to open their hearts up to the Lord, that Jesus is with you every step of the way. God bless you.
That's all the time we have for now. On behalf of the staff at Catholic Television, I'd like to thank you for joining us today and invite you to tune us in again next month for our next edition of Our Faith, Our Diocese.